Hello there, Master Hellish here, and welcome to an army analysis. We're doing Tyranid still again, and what are we on this week?
We're on Elites this week.
Elites. I haven't yet opened the page in my book. Hang on a second.
I have. So I'll jump straight in with the first one. Hive Guard Brood.
Ooh, I like them.
They're nice. They're very nice. They're very similar, I believe, to what they were in the old rules. For some reason they've got 2 attacks. Not really sure why that is. But they're nice and cheap for what they do. Impaler Cannon, great weapon. You get a couple of shots out of it. It's good strength. It can tackle tanks if it has to. The fact that you don't need to see what you're shooting is great.
That's fantastic, especially in this sort of army when you've got things that can be squished.
Absolutely.
The only reason I haven't, I know I said I like them, but the only reason I haven't took them is because it's shooty.
It is, yeah, and obviously you're not having your shooty. It's another case right here. Toxin sacs, adrenal glands, just don't put them down now. Leave them. No,
you don't want them. I mean, for example, like I said, they're a shooter unit.
They are.
And why would you put toxin sacs and adrenal glands on a shooter unit?
It's not worth having. If they get in combat, alright, they've got an okay strength, weapon skills okay, attacks is okay, but that's not the point. They're too expensive. There are better things for it. One thing I would be careful of, and I apologise if I upset anybody when I say this, that shock cannon is not worth having. It's just not.
You think the Impaler's better? It
is. If they were the same points, I could maybe think about it. The strength isn't enough to cause anything a headache, really.
Right.
In troops-wise. Maybe other Tyranids, things like that. But nothing that's worth shooting.
A lot of stuff these days are quite bulky in their armour, they've got saves.
The stuff you want to shoot is not stuff that this cannon will hurt, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. The AP is naff. You get it because of the Haywire rule. Haywire is great. It's fantastic.
Haywire is fantastic.
But it's a blast weapon. And they're only ballistic skill less than a Space Marine. So you're not going to hit tanks. If your opponent's got monoliths and land raiders, feel free, dive in. But the smaller vehicles are going to be very difficult to hit. Flyers, well, you can forget about shooting them because blast weapons can't hurt them.
That's true, yeah.
And the Impaler Cannon, being strength 8, is enough to hurt any vehicle.
Yeah.
You know, I just think, what is the point in that shot? Unless you
That's when I do maths, by the way.
If your opponent is taking, for example, the Imperial Guard Sentinels, a very tank-heavy army where you can scatter and still hit a tank, well done, take them.
Or if there's a shed load of troops nearby and you're going to get a bonus hit.
Yeah, if you're going to get something, but I just feel like probably the Impaler Cannon is the better way to go. Even against troops, the Impaler Cannon's strength is enough to instant death those pesky Space Marines with more than 1 wound.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, the Impaler Cannon should be the 5-point upgrade. For what they are, I think it's just better. Some people will disagree with me, I'm sure they will. My wife always does. But that's just my opinion on it. Okay.
Well, let's go on to the next one, the Lictors. Yeah. I've got Lictors.
Lictors are great.
I love Lictors.
They're fantastic.
They're a bit squishy.
They are very squishy, and they're actually... I know I just said fantastic, but they're not very good on the board.
Lictors are great. They don't play great.
They're a great idea. Back in...
it's like most of my poker hands.
Yeah. Back in 4th Ed, fantastic when they could charge, when they turned up. That's what they should be now. I really do think they should be that now.
I was hoping for that when this codex came out.
Yeah. It's even for Death Leaper, but he hasn't got it either.
No.
There's a couple of things you can do with Lictors. Flesh hooks, being strength as user now, you can deep strike without scattering, as Lictors do, behind the back of a tank. You will get a couple of shots each. The ballistic skill's not great, but there's a good chance if you've got 3 Lictors, you will take out most tanks. Majority of them strength 10, 11, armour 10, 11 at the rear.
At the rear. Has to be the rear there on that.
It does have to be the rear. If you blow it up...
unless it's a monolith.
Yeah, just don't with a monolith, ever. If you blow it up, you've probably got yourself some cover, because you've left a wreck there. If you blow it up completely, obviously there'll be a crater which you can't.
And also
they
might take hits as well with strength. Strength 3, I think it is.
Yeah.
It's not great, but the odds of that.
They're not massive odds. What you're looking for there is to pop up, glance a tank to death.
Yeah.
You can hide behind it. You get cover. I believe it's classed as ruins, which is 5 up, maybe a 4 up. They've got stealth, so you're already looking at effectively 3 or 4 up, depending on what that is.
Yeah.
Cover safe, fantastic. Instinctive behaviour lurk is not so bad for them anymore, so that's always good. And then they've just got a list of special rules, which is great. You know,
they're all fun things, aren't they?
They are.
They're a fun unit to have. They're entertaining, and there's always different things you can do with them, and you can always turn around. And one of those special rules, you always go, aha!
Yes,
I can do this,
absolutely,
and your enemy goes, oh, I forgot you could do that, or didn't even realise in the first place.
I mean, I think Pheromone Trail, if you're going to use it, you have to infiltrate. You can't try and deep strike. Because of the way the reserves come on, there's a good chance you're going to get a lot of it on turn 2. So by turn 3, you don't really need it. If you infiltrate to within 12, because you're going to put it in cover, it's got its cover save, so it's survivable.
Yeah.
Turn 1, you plough forwards, you're now probably within 6 inches, maybe 8 inches of the enemy lines, and you deep strike the stuff you wanted to deep strike within 6.
Yeah.
So it's now right in front of the enemy line, no scatter.
That was a brilliant thing to do, and I've used them in deep striking before, and it's been good to get in places where it's really difficult to get in, because normally when you deep strike you're going to scatter, and people deliberately set up their armies to make it difficult to deep strike in behind their lines and in places like that. Unless you're me and you do the opposite and you leave a nice little gap for your friend to deep strike their monolith behind when you've got a nice little plan to deal with it. Sorry about that, Brian. But yeah,
they're a good unit, lictors. You want to be threatening Devastator squads, as I say, the rear of tanks, stuff like that, broadside battlesuits, anything where your opponent's got a bit of a gun nest at the back. You might not kill it, but you will draw a lot of fire. Multi-wounds, so if your opponent doesn't hit them with strength 8, they are going to take a lot of hits.
Yeah.
And stealth, you know, get them in some cover.
Oh yeah, brilliant. Now, we'll go on to the. Now this is it. Xenothrope or Zonothrope?
I would pronounce it Zoanthrope.
If you think we're wrong, comment. We know you will.
Good luck trying to put pronunciation in spelling.
Yeah.
They're great for me. Probably the second best elite choice here, and it's a very close one. Elites. I do think Elites is the best point of this codex.
It's a good set. It's a good set.
Warp Blast, brilliant. I can't fault it. It's great.
Warp Blast is great, and one of the things that I like about this is one of the few ones with a good save. Yeah,
that warp field 3-up invulnerable is brilliant. They're a little bit susceptible to instant death, but you can't have it all for that many points. They are very cheap, same points as the Lictor. They are synapse, fantastic again.
That's brilliant, because a lot of the stuff around in this codex, like we said before, if you're not careful, you can run out of synapse very quickly.
Absolutely.
And scattering a couple of these on the board, if you've got some elite slots, or if you're playing a 2,000 point game where you can have up to 6.
If you get 6 second
yeah, because you
you
take a second, then put a couple of Zoanthropes in on their own, maybe 2 or 3 of them.
I don't know, I would probably go with more because of the way that Warp Blast works now with the Brotherhood of Psychers and Psychic Brood special rules. You get the extra shots. Not so much against the tank, because the Lance special rule, there's a good chance you're going to kill what you shot anyway. Brotherhood of Psychers is a good rule to take advantage of. Obviously it means previously if you'd suffered perils of the warp, you've lost your unit, you're in a lot of trouble. Now only one of them takes the wounds.
That's fantastic.
Which is great. So you personally, 3 of these in every squad, at least 2 squads of 3 if you can manage it. I just think they're great.
300 points in a 2,000 point battle on Zonothrope.
Yeah, I would absolutely spend that, because your opponent cannot throw any tanks at you without worrying. The AP3 on the Blast version of Warp Blast is going to deal with most of anything. I mean, I play Necron, so I'm lacking in 2+ saves, and that is a scary power to fight. It really is. Yeah,
and they're basically, you know, in some comparisons to Wraiths.
Yeah, they're not far with that warp field, that 3-up invulnerable. It's a great thing to have.
Because whenever I play against Wraiths, that's the thing I struggle with quite a lot.
Yeah, they're just
that 3-up invulnerable makes them difficult to get rid of. Do they get the will be backs?
Wraiths don't, unfortunately, no.
Wow, they don't bloody need it. They've got 3-up invulnerable. Okay, and we'll probably do... Shall we do Necrons next, or maybe Tau? Tell you what, let us know which one you want to see next in the comments, and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
Venomthrope.
Venomthropes are almost mandatory. I'm afraid.
You say that, and I haven't got one.
I'm going to say that about a lot of the Elite's choices because they're so good.
Yeah,
that cover that they give your units, obviously in the previous rendition of the Codex, 5+ cover save. Now shrouded, which means it stacks with your original cover. If you've got Tyranid warriors that are behind the line of gaunts and somebody tries to shoot them, when you have a Venomthrope, that's a 3-up cover save on. That's fantastic.
It is, yeah.
For the points that they are, they're cheaper than a Zoanthrope, and they're just fantastic at it. They get shrouded themselves. The rest of the model, unfortunately, isn't that useful. It's really just that shrouded you're going for.
So what would you? I mean, yeah, it's got that survivability.
Yes.
But what is it there for?
It's a support unit, is what it is. It's a support unit. It is worth noting, if you know you're fighting something like another Tyranid army, something with monstrous creatures in it, even a Catan, I would have a go with Venomthropes. And before you all think I'm crazy, their strength isn't fantastic, but poison 2+.
Yeah.
You know, they've got a reasonable number of attacks. They've got the Toxic Miasma, which you can use once per game, which is always good. You're going to do some damage. Throw 3 of these at a monstrous creature, and there's a good chance you'll do some damage to it. You know.
And for that many points as well, your large monstrous creatures are probably going to be a little bit more points than these.
They are, and due to the lash whips, you'll strike before them.
Yeah,
which is great.
If you go first, which you probably will,
yep.
You're probably going to get a good chance of taking that monstrous creature down and surviving with some left.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you want to really be aiming for stuff with a low save. Monstrous creatures that are high toughness, low save. Catan is a perfect example. If you can throw enough attacks on it, you're going to kill it. It's got a rubbish save, and you'll just poison it to death.
Okay. That's probably your favourite, you would say.
I think I've said that about the last 2.
We've got lots of favourites.
Next up is my favourite.
My favourite? No, it's my favourite.
It's great, the Haruspex. It's what the Carnifex really... It's what a lot of people would make the Carnifex into, I think.
You reckon?
It's got a similar stat line. It doesn't have the strength, obviously. It does have a better wounds characteristic, interestingly.
It is, I think, physically bigger. It comes on a Trigon base.
Yes, yeah, it comes on the big boy base. It's worth the Thresher Tail Biomorph, I think, just to get the extra attacks out, because they do benefit from the... I'm not going to try and pronounce it, but the Hunger special rule that they get, whereby if they inflict a wound, they get a wound back. That does affect the Tail Biomorph.
Yeah.
So it's worth having that extra attack.
I think generally with a lot of them, the big creatures, the Tail Biomorphs are worth taking.
Normally, yeah, I would say so. Regular Biomorphs, I mean, you can throw regeneration on it, but as I say, with that rule, doesn't really need it.
You could do it. It depends what you wanted to do with it. I mean, if you think it's going to be pretty much out there on its own, and it's going to be rampaging either through the side of an army, say if you wanted to go a lot down one flank, and you were sending it down the other, and it was going to be on its own, and you wanted it to have that real survivability, and try and charge through the ranks of whatever you've got, then I think maybe you could take both. But unless you're sending it out on its own, if it's going to be part of a force and it's going to be embedded, probably not.
If you know what you're fighting, then there is, especially if you've got the points for it, there's a lot of reason to say, take it, take regeneration, take the Thresher Scythe Tail Biomorph, take the Adrenal Glands for Furious Charge, because with your Crushing Claws, that does make you Strength 8 on the charge, AP 2 for the Crushing Claws.
That's fantastic.
Tau Battle Suits, any multi-wound Space Marines that you come up against, Wraiths as well, obviously they'll get their invulnerable still, but all that stuff that is Toughness 4 multi-wound, insta-death, and you do get the number of wounds back that the model had on its profile.
Yes.
As far as I'm aware, if that's been errated, I apologise.
That's right.
And it's got a Grasping Tongue, which looks great.
At the time of recording, I don't think there's an errata for this book.
Not right now.
I looked a few days ago and there wasn't one. So there will be one. There's going to be an FAQ.
Yes, eventually there will have to be. There's a couple of bits in this that we might pick up on, but we'll get there. I can see you're about ready to turn the page already, because Pyrovores are just not worth looking at.
Okay, let's go. No,
just skip. They're awful.
Yeah, really?
They are awful. I can't think. If you can think of a way to use Pyrovores for that number of points, where you wouldn't prefer any of the other elites choices, and I mean any of the other elites choices, please comment and tell me.
They're 10 points cheaper than a Lictor.
They are cheaper than a Lictor.
10 points cheaper than a Zoanthrope.
They are, I'll give you that, but they've got a 4 up save, and toughness isn't great. It's Space Marine toughness. They're very easy to instant death.
Yeah.
They will explode with that volatile special rule in your own lines.
That's true, you don't want that.
That's going to cause a problem.
Instinctive behaviour feed.
Yeah, again, that's not a great one, because if I remember rightly, you can't fire the weapons under some of the feed special rules.
Yeah, I think what we'll have to do, we'll have to have a look at those special rules at another point.
We'll come back to that, but the Flame Spur is just not good enough. I'm sorry, it's not.
No?
It's a heavy flamer. Obviously, you've got the range and whatnot on it, but it's a heavy flamer, and I can see what they've done with Acid Maw and Acid Blood. They've made it so that you can do some damage in combat. Well, no, it can't, because its weapon skill is equivalent to a Guardsman.
Yeah,
and it's only got a couple of attacks.
Yeah.
If you throw it in against something like that, Guardsman, Eldar Guardian, something like that, fair enough, it'll do okay, but it's not going to last long.
No, it is. It's a rather squishy model. I mean, it has got those 3 wounds, but
yeah,
which, you know, you look around the rest of the page, You know,
they're all
it's
about
mid.
Yeah, the thing is, if you're taking a Pyrevore for some fire support, well, it's not going to do that very well. So take one of the other units, put some Bireballs in. I think Bireballs are the same points. Bireballs will do the job better. Same AP, lower strength, I believe, but the range is there. And if you want it for the combat power, well, take Warriors. You know, take any of the other combat units. Tyranid Warriors are cheaper and more effective in combat.
Oh,
Sorry, that's a bit of a rant there. I apologise about that if anybody likes Pyrevores, but I just think they're awful.
What about the model itself?
The model's just a bit of a knockoff Pyrevore, isn't it? Really.
There we go. So we've now just annoyed probably a load of people.
We have, yeah, we've annoyed a lot of people. But I think everybody will agree Elites is one of the best, if not the best section in this codex, and I think you'd be hard pressed to narrow it to 3.
The thing is, out of the armies that I've had to go and played with and owned over the years, Elites have always been my favourite.
Yeah, they tend to be where your good stuff is. They're you know, it's Elite for a reason.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, well, thank you very much. We'll be back again with another episode sometime soon. Thank you very much for watching. As always, comments in there, get your questions in, get your requests in, and we'll collect them together and I will get back to you. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.